when it comes to conflict, whenever there are two individuals who have different preferences, they are experiencing conflict. The intensity of conflict varies or may vary, right? I keep saying during my training and my lectures, my courses, that it is not the frequency of conflict that is wrong or bad. Conflict can be constructive. Conflict can lead to, discovering more about each other. Conflict can be creative. Might lead to developing new solutions. Conflict might, even strengthen relationships. Right? So conflict per se is not bad, or the